always a tip to my homeowners, please treat your designer well and nice, and everything will be okay. We will be more chin chai.
I think you're not likable.
You need to feel the vibes, ma.
Also, feeling vibes is important.
You cannot like, I hate this person, then I want to work with him.
I'm sure there are other likable designers and capable as well. I always believe people don't tell the truth when it comes to budget.
That's all I can afford.
Always remember to see the price first before you ask the designer to proceed.
他会对你死的 if you don't fulfill the project in time.
End of the day, if I can't deliver, it's my reputation at stake also.
And now you know IG 不容易做。Renovation isn't just about tiles and mood boards. It's about people and the personalities, as well as the stories that help make the decisions. I'm Astley Ng, aka The Designer. Join me for the Season 2 of the SIXiDER Show. Hi everyone, welcome to this special episode of the SIXiDER Show Season 2. Today, as you can see, right, I'm not the host. I'm not in the host seat right now. I'm in the hot seat together with the other guests. And then next to me is actually the host for today's episode, Yu Ting, our 小天使. And today's episode, right, is essentially about homeowners and then the interaction with designers. So before I get Yu Ting to start, maybe we can all do a quick introduction, 30 seconds for each one of the designer here.
Hi everyone, I'm Shaun from Averse Concept, and I'd like to thank Astley and SIXiDER for having me here today.
Hi everybody, I'm Averse from ABCD Blue Design. Thank you for actually having me here today to sharing about some interesting topic. Yeah.
I'm me lor. 也到你了。
And me also.
Yu Ting, just for all you don't know, right, Yu Ting is essentially the behind the scenes in all of our marketing material, behind the camera and behind the computer doing the editing. But recently she had her home done up. And then after she went through the renovation experience, and then she was like, can I call it renting? Maybe sharing. So share. Then I thought, hey, why don't we get her to join our podcast and maybe have a conversation with all of us as designers, right? Maybe at wherever she encountered with her designer, maybe we can have different perspective. I helped her get the ball rolling. In many of the situations, especially the early stage of homeowner meeting a designer, the designer wants to be a yes person or a yes man or a yes lady, meaning anything also can. Do you think that this is possible or not? And why the designers will say anything also can?
So I think some designers, they will be quite eager to actually clinch a deal. So everything will be yes. But it's depending on the designer itself, because at the end of the day, from the first mood board to the final handover, things can go wrong. So it's important not to be a yes person, especially in the initial stage, before the final code is out or before the final contract is even out. It's important to understand what homeowners do actually want. So from the mood board itself, from the design itself. So for example, sometimes owner will say, hey, I like this design. Okay, this feature wall. Okay, can you do it? Designer will just quote, yes, this feature wall, 10 feet, this price. Come out, it actually got fluted panel, curved design, 2 layers. Then after during the fabrication stage, you tell the homeowners, hey, you need to top up. You need to pay extra. Homeowners will be thinking, assume that I thought this is already included. How come it's not included inside? Designers could also feel that, I assume that you already know that it's not included, because I will assume that you may have actually met many designers and they will have gone through with you different designs and what are the costs like. So sometimes assumption can actually lead to a very bad outcome sometimes, So the gap between what owners want and what designers assume could be there. So it's for us to actually bridge that. So I think at the end of the day, I think it's important to be open to actually pen everything down in the contract.
I always believe the first made out conversation, right, it cannot be lesser than 30 minutes, because there's a lot of question and there's a lot of understanding between homeowner and designer. Because as an interior designer, a lot of time we are designed for individual, not for public. So when things come to individual, they are very subjective. I mean, to me, I'm the yes man actually. I'm the yes man. I'm always a yes designer. When homeowner asks me whether this can be done or yes, can be done. But there is a consequence or there's a cost behind. To me, everything or anything in the world is possible. It's about the money and time. I mean, human can fly to moon, we can fly to Mars. So, for example, like just now what Shaun mentioned regarding the sizes, you can have such a long feature wall, but if the client never address probably there is a long feature wall like 10 feet or 20 over feet, then the designer could assume it's only like 8 feet sizes. So sometimes in the renovation sector, right, we always calculate prices by sizes. Or maybe it could be the material differences. When the client saw the feature wall in online or Pinterest, it's a very nice marble feature wall, maybe onyx feature wall. But most cases in the market, right, we don't quote marble feature wall in our first proposal. You will just chase the customer away. So therefore, there's a lot of conversation need to cushion it during this first meet up, the first conversation as a homeowner or even as a consumer. You need to go and figure out, how come everything become yes? There must be some difficulty in certain execution. If everything are so smooth, that means something is wrong.
I agree with both of you. But of course, everything comes in stages. I think that the initial stage, a very important element during conversation is to be likable. If I keep saying no to whatever the homeowner wants, right, it's very hard to carry on the conversation. But then at the same time, right, I think it's also important to manage the expectation. So for my own personal philosophy when it comes to like meeting with homeowners, when I was still a designer, I think the initial meeting is 多听少说. And that's basically to allow us to kind of size up what the homeowner is really after. And then so collectively, you can piece out what are priorities and what are not. And the important thing is to be likable to an extent whereby they are very forthcoming with their ideas, their concepts. So the more they share, the more I will know. Then eventually we need to compare it to, firstly, the budget, the cost factor of everything. Then the other thing is feasibility, time frame. And all these things are suddenly, it's like, yes, you want, but we cannot afford, or there's not enough time, or it takes too much of a hassle to get it done. Then there are all these other so-called counter measures or counter proposals. I think as a designer, the baseline is we must provide professional empathy, which means that professionally, you need to sit down there, listen, understand, put yourself in the shoes of the homeowners, and then offer valuable, or rather value for service advice. Yeah. So yes, men to a certain extent, but then at the right critical point, must learn to say no.
Actually, before I joined SIXiDES, how I found IDs is through like those all that. And then there were 2 IDs that made an impression on me. The first one, I go there, sit down, give my floor plan, and then he asked for my budget, and then he just keep on insisting I get an island. And I don't want an island. After that, I just like got a very bad impression of the whole company in general. And then, the second one is like, but the ID that did my...
You eventually went with
Yeah, she understood my budget and like the concerns I had. She felt like very honest to help me out. Yeah.
So she's very likable
Yeah, like very, I can talk to her easily.
But would you all agree that this is actually a right way or wrong way? I feel that, to be likable, to continue conversation, yes. But for a first-time homeowner, if you are judging based on whether you like this person or not, and not whether this person can deliver or not, right? Is that the right way to start? Or is that the right way leading towards confirming the contract?
You need to feel the vibes, ma.
Also, feeling vibes is important.
You cannot like, I hate this person, then I want to work with him.
Okay.
I mean, I do agree with her as well. In Singapore, when we're doing a home renovation, we need to be through a proposal stage, then this discussion, renovation journey, then handover or maybe after sales service. And this journey easily 1 to 2 years sometime. So even though not 1 year, maybe like 4 to 6 months easily. I mean, from the proposal stage until the end of the project, easily 4 to 6 month time. So if you are facing somebody that you really hate the person, you don't like the behavior. I mean, for example, I'm not against anybody, but like some of my homeowners, they do not like smoker. Then they are never engaged with a smoker designer to do their house because they are sensitive for the smoke smell. So if you cannot bear for that, then you are paying the money, you are the paymaster, why you want to bear for it? Why not you try to look for other designer that you feel fanciful about it? I'm sure there are other likable designer and capable as well. Yeah, I think the first impression is pretty important to the homeowner, right? That's why we need to dress up so nice today.
Not just for homeowners, even for designers, some designers as well. We also size up the customers. Do we actually like them? Yes. Yeah. So, like always, the tip to my homeowners: please treat your designer well and nice, and everything will be okay. We will be more chin-chai.
But how do you think like, cause during the event there were about 6 IDs. Out of the 6 IDs, only 2 got back to me. I got my keys last August, but I went for the event in February. Do you think it's because it was too long? Then they didn't want to bother like waiting until I get my keys. They want like a fast.
No, I think
deal
you are
kind of
not
thing.
likable. Like no, like what
I'm
Shaun
very
said.
polite.
Like what Shaun said, it cuts both ways, ma. So likability comes both ways. No, that it's a high potential. Not that you're not likable, lah. You know, but I feel that the reality could be that they also may feel that they must also want to commit to the project. They must like the project, or they feel that they have synergy with the homeowner also. There are some people who are like for example, I know the style you like, it's not the style I like. I don't think I can compliment you on it. So 可能我就知难而退咯. That's a possibility also.
Maybe cause my budget damn low.
I think there may be many factors, not only likable or not. That could be in such a case that the designer themselves, during the fair, you met 6 designer, right? There could be they met 16 homeowner. You get what I mean or not? So from there, I think like how homeowner feel the designer. Sometimes designer does feel the homeowner as well. We take the urgent one, the important one to follow up first. Then maybe throughout those period of time that may take like 1 or 2 months time, they may forgotten you, or maybe halfway throughout they change the company or they change the job.
Yes.
They couldn't follow up through all this.
Politician, the answer them good.
It's not a politician. It's a fact. Yeah.
No, but I think he makes very, very, very good points here. Shaun,
Like I always tell my homeowners, don't feel pressured to sign with me today or anything. Take a look, compare with anyone, everyone. Work with someone you feel comfortable with. Because at the end of the day, as I mentioned earlier, like it or not, we are together for the next few months, for the next few years. So it's very important that we actually find someone that's responsible enough, responsive enough. Because imagine you try to reach a designer, call him 10 times, don't answer the phone, message 1 day later, reply. Things like that. Are you sure this is something that someone you want to work with as well? Because home is a long journey, it's something that you have actually dreamed of for months, for years. So I think at the end of the day, place your home renovation into someone that you really feel comfortable with, you trust.
Just now, Shaun mentioned homeowners and IDs both cannot make assumptions about each other. So, being a first-time homeowner, I didn't know anything about renovation. So during renovation, there was this incident. So I changed my toilet door. So they have to put the protective layer thing, right? Then a few days later, I went down. Then I say, where you put my toilet doors? Because when you put that layer, you need to remove the doors, right? Then she's like, throw already. Then I was like, why? I don't know why you never tell me. Then she say, because you never say. But I didn't know I have to say.
Until so clear.
Because in my opinion, it's my property. I'm sorry, but I told her like, if your homeowner, the door is gold-plated one, you will throw me.
personally, I feel that communication is often understated thing lah.
I agree.
Is what is supposed to be in a contract is your default go-to. But in between your contract, there's a lot of communication that happens out of the contract one. Our trade, right, we will always go back to that defensive stance that it's written inside the contract. You asked us to put a new door, but my natural assumption is that you do not want to keep this door. You also did not give me any instruction to keep the door. So this is the grey zone.
I did such a mistake before last time during my career journey. I throw away my client the blind before. The blind. I mean, it was an old blind from IKEA. So the moment client tell me take down the blind, then I take down throw away. I didn't ask. There are like 12 number of the blind in total. So I saw a few broken already, so I throw away. I assume to replace the entire one. Then any homeowner say, I actually want to use spare to replace the spoiled one only. So I took out responsible, never mind, I go and purchase the exactly same IKEA blind for you again. But then later on, the homeowner said they want to change the new blind. Then I top up the differences. That's what I did for this service recovery. Sometimes this kind of thing do happen. Like we mentioned, it's a 4 to 6 month process. people make mistake. It was a good intention when I throw away. I want to replace the new one. It's not because I want to earn a sum for the blind, but a good intention is since it doesn't fit to the owner expectation. So therefore, we must quickly do a service recovery. I mean, as a responsible designer, I think that's what we're supposed to do. Yeah. But of course, the blind itself is an amount that I can afford. Yeah. So we have the room to discuss. But if until the amount that we're unable to afford, then maybe we need to go for insurance or anything.
Yeah, my ID also sort of refunded me some amount for the doors.
For goodwill lah.
Yes, yeah.
I want to stand on the ID side of things here is that sometimes they always say common sense, but common sense is not common sense, right? Like what Averse say, practice initiative, then it can backfire. Then you don't practice, right? Then
you also got backfire.
You also cannot fire. You say like, I ask you to, I put out I want the new toilet door. What do you think I want to do with the old door? Huh? Play mahjong with it. Also no, right?
It can happen both ways.
Can ask first,
Yeah.
So you can cast both ways. One. I think your starting off question is really must be specific. Yeah, really must be that specific. Because common sense is not common sense.
Just now she mentioned that she's the first time homeowner. I mean, to bear in mind, sometimes designer also first time designer.
Good point, yeah.
I mean, maybe they know design, but each of you are practicing to work with each other for this project.
Yeah, learning to know each other for the first time. If you are already a professional and actually you should ask. Maybe it's our duty to ask. Based on what you just said.
Yeah.
Because since we renovate more often than her, then it's our duty to 多问那一句咯.
So like just now, one of you guys mentioned about the other backfire. What if you always ask one more time the 多问那一句 and you're gonna backfire? The owner, this kind of thing you also need to ask me.
Common sense is not common sense, ma.
Yeah.
Common sense is not
So
common sense.
first time you gonna, second time you gonna, third time you won't ask again.
True lah.
I still ask in case of anything.
Now you know IG 不容易做
It's service line at the end of the day. It's a service line.
Yeah, so just now I talked about meeting IDs, right? And then I show my budget, right? And then my budget is quite low. It's like 30-40K. But that time, I say including furniture. So do y'all think that's one of the reasons why IDs don't take that kind of homeowners?
You come first?
I don't think so. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone will have their wish list, their wants and their needs. So it's up to the designer to actually find out more. Normally, for my practice, I don't ask my clients for their budget. I'll ask them, tell me what do you need. So we prepare everything. So at least you know what is the full amount that will cost you if you want to do everything. So from there, I will leave it to the homeowners to actually decide which one is more important. Because a home itself, right, you don't have to do everything at once. Certain things that, of course, we have to do first. But I always tell them, you live in it first before you perfect it. And I don't say that, come in with a $10,000 budget. No, I don't take it. No, $20,000 budget, we don't take it. It's very important because we need to know what do they want. Sometimes I say, I only got $30,000 budget. Show me the mood board. Wow. All the design, fluted panel, everything, curve designs. Then we have to actually manage expectations really, because if not, later on, homeowners will think that designers are trying to, take out a chopper and chop them and say, you got to top up for this, you got to top up for that. So I think it's about what we actually say. Communication is very important.
I think maybe there are some of the designers who just stop servicing you because they look at your budget, they think it's not relevant. Maybe. And but me myself, like what Shaun did, I don't chase customer away. I won't stop service customer because of the budget issue. Because I always believe people don't tell the truth when it comes to budget. And or maybe like you keep on mention, you are the first time homeowner, you are not familiar with the budget planning. You thought like just what you confessed is now you at first you thought 40,000 include the furniture, but after you realize is you need to put it aside. You see, so all these things it need to be communicate, and then everybody need to be educated, especially you are the first time homeowner. Budget is something I would say it's not like fixed in this amount.
Fluid,
Yeah, it's fluid. It's a fluid item. Then you may want to change it to higher and lower. So along the way things get changed. So therefore, to understand homeowner requirement, like today's topic, the communication is very, very important. So we know what is the factor you're supposed to focus and spend the budget wisely for every individual.
Well said. I think you also went to the wrong kind of event.
Yeah.
You should have gone to a SIXiDES event. earlier on we say people choose people law, and many a times during first meeting it's very hard. Like what Ava said, it's very hard for people to
Really understand.
Yeah, really understand, really know the true budget. And I've been in the trade for so long, right? The day I joined till today, 30,000, and this number is still floating in the air. Always talk about 30,000, right? And that's like 30 years ago. Inflation don't know like GST also go up 9%, but we're still using 30,000 as a benchmark. And like if I were to ask you the question, how do you come up with 30,000? How did you or 40,000, including furnishing? The truth is you also don't know. It's probably you hear it somewhere and you think that no, then from where? You really budgeted.
That's all I can afford.
Oh, that's what you can afford. Yeah, but you see, affordability times priority is what the designer is trying to understand. What there's a budget for everyone. No, even the richest person in the world would not anyhow spend if it's not necessary. And what is necessary or priority, right, is the discovery process between the designer and the homeowner throughout this period of time. And it's a continuing loop that would eventually end at the day when the house is completed, and then this is really what you spend. And then all the things inside there, right, if going by your wishes, should be your priorities. And I think that's really the deal here. Not the day they sit down and then do the quotation and then sign off. That's just the beginning of things. So for those who didn't take on your job and all that, too bad for them. They didn't go through the process with you, and then too bad for you also because you didn't. You could have also gotten more from them in a sense that they could have tell you how you could have afford things better, or maybe you could have look at how you could prioritize certain things better. It will be about very real fundamental functional needs down the road, like in the next 2 or 3 years, and those kind of things you don't think about it now. Later you're gonna regret one.
But I think 30K, maybe like homeowners think that can 30K cause, there's a lot of renovation packages. Then it's like 2,888. Then maybe they want to like try their luck.
I think it's possible using that 20,000 to done the renovation, but that depends how much item that you're going to proceed later on.
Like minimal.
What does it mean minimal? What's your definition for minimal, you see?
Kitchen.
Yeah, kitchen 30K, okay.
Possible.
Kitchen, master, bedroom, carpentry.
So the minimum from 1 they become 4.
The 2 toilets.
I see 6 already.
And the TV console.
7.
Okay.
I think it's doable.
No, it's doable lah. I mean,
Yeah.
firstly, HDB is supposed to be a solution for a very wide spectrum of homeowners in Singapore.
Yes.
Right. And so we all exist in this market to serve this group of homeowners. So there will always be an idea that will take the job on. But the problem is whenever you have that kind of situation where very tight budget and then you mix with, let's say, one ID who say that, yeah, can be done everything you want and can still do it at a fantastic price, whereas the rest of the world, the rest of the ID trade are saying that this is not doable at this price, then that's the scary part. Because that's usually where scams start happening. And I think we covered that many times before already, is that they will lowball. Because this climate, right, there will always be people who are desperate enough to anyhow say, and then homeowners who are hopeful enough that they, 捡到便宜, 捡到宝.
We can do our part. We can be very open, very honest to tell you what we can do for you and what we can't do for you. Because yes, even though we are yes men, but at times if there are certain things that I cannot deliver, I have to tell you first because I cannot overpromise. At the end of the day, if I can't deliver, it's my reputation at stake also. So I think most designers, we are in this line for the long run. So we always take our reputation. So that's why we always don't overpromise. But whatever it is, we will tell the owners, what we can do and what we can't do. So, reflex what Astley say, because there are designers out there who are really desperate. They will throw in a lot of freebies, hob, hood, I'll give you freebies, fridge, TV, upgrade, everything upgrade.
But it's music to your ears, what?
No, yeah. So if the designer say okay to your low budget, then will they like under the VO thingy they add in more stuff? First of all, can explain what is VO?
So variation orders will be things that are not in the initial contract. So for example, when we measure for a kitchen countertop, so it's about, in the contract stated 15 feet, but we do measurement, it's 15.5 feet. So the additional 0.5 feet, we may have to charge the owner 0.5 feet. So if we measure 14.5 feet, I will take out the 0.5 feet from the owner, because what we do, we charge. What we don't do, we don't charge. It's fair enough. Sometimes, like I mentioned, if the contract is very low, some designers, what they can do is to actually recoup back whatever that, to bring up their profit margin. They will charge you extremely high. Anything, they can just mark up super high. The costing can be $300. They'll tell you, okay, it's $3,000. Because the contract is already signed. Nothing you can do.
I think the contract in Singapore is protecting both parties. Before you sign, you have all right to stop it and then to get for the alternative. But of course, you must communicate carefully for both parties to let the designer understand, hey, you want to take out from this item from contract. Don't later on you buy already, then he still charge you again for this one, then you are paying double. Yeah, so I think variation order is good to cushion it before things execute. Always remember to see the price first before you ask the designer to proceed. Okay, you don't ask him to proceed without seeing the price. Then the price come in later, you jump.
I don't know about all the IDE firms and how they are practicing. The correct legal stance in this is from quotation. Then the next step should be, if you confirm, you pay a deposit to the quotation. But once the design is out, then the service agreement comes out. Service agreement is a legal and binding contract, which by that point should detail all the things that's captured in the drawings and as per your wish. Then from there, you have variation order. Because if it's quotation to variation order, right, by legal stance, right, it's basically saying the quotation is never finalized to begin with. Signing off that is not finalized for a quotation. It should be supposed to be a service agreement. Okay, then the other issue here is that there are people who say the variation order, they agree to it, but then at the end of the day, right, homeowners don't want to pay. On the side of the designers, I think we also face that kind of problem also.
But they can don't pay.
Very good question.
They will argue.
Very good question.
I'm sure you all got, yeah. Like,
Touch wood lah, so far haven't lah. Yeah, but I hear of stories that, yes, got owners, then you chao kwan lor, don't pay. So I have colleagues who really go out, haven't installed finish, right? Take down everything. I mean, to be fair lah, we have to protect ourselves. Of course, homeowners always talk about horror stories about
designer no good, contractor no good.
no good, take money, run away or stuff like that. But designers ourselves, we are very scared also. If owners don't pay, we are the one who are going to bear the responsibility and the cost of everything also as well.
Come to think of it, I've never seen a newspaper report say the homeowner never pay the contractor. I've never
Never, man.
Never.
As a designer, I mean, we want to deliver a happy home to the homeowner. Sometimes happy home, it is not only meaning that the workmanship is good or the design is nice. That also means that you need to meet the timeline. And whenever we want to meet the timeline, we want things to execute fast, right? Then we do it without collecting money. I mean, olden day, I did that olden day. So it's a very pain experience for me. After you completed the thing already, the owner just tell me, I do not like this brown color. Why are you install this brown color in my home? But you did already, you haven't collected the money. I don't like it. I don't want to pay this amount. You take back or you leave it. So what can I do? I can only leave it and then I just suck my thumb. But of course, after that, I learned from that. In my company, I try to practice in this way. All the variation order, we must collect the full sum before we execute. Because come to the halfway renovation like this, there might be a lot of things is keep on happening. You may oversee. You may oversee a lot of things. So it's better to collect the money first. Not only you, the homeowner may be oversee. They don't know they overshoot the budget so much already.
It was brought up a very good point that in the heat and passion of the project, right? Usually we just want to get the job done, right? And then all this so-called technicality and the paperwork, you all would want to push until to the end, then one shot settle and relying on the good faith and goodwill that everybody will honor the thing law. And then the thing is, you especially in the olden days, the 谈钱伤感情, 做先, they always will say that first. We will talk later, reconcile later. But problem is, you always end up with 会吃亏的咯. Okay, so Yu Ting paiseh asked me to confess. So I start the ball rolling lah as a retired interior designer. Retired interior designer, yes. What's like one confession? I got so many things to confess. But now that I'm not an ID, right? I guess one of the confession I think I have is that I am honest that when it comes to initially when I was doing home renovation quotations, I usually lowball at the start when I first entered the industry. After a while, what I understand very clearly is that the conversation with homeowners, if you don't lowball, you don't put yourself in an attractive pricing, right? I won't even move to round 2 or round 3. And I know that they don't know what they don't know, but they know what they have in their bank or what they don't have in their bank. So it ends up like a conversation about money more than anything. And I'm a designer. I graduated from an art school. I want to talk to you about design. But as I was at that time doing a lot of trade shows at Singapore Expo and all that, the conversation never moved to design. It was always talking about money, and money. Until you close the deal, then that's when we officially go into the design. But when we go into the design, right, it's usually a mad rush to like finish out all the drawings. And last time I was not even 3D. I had to hand draw. So draw, then show the client. And hand drawn it's not like 3D rendering. There's nothing photorealistic. So we have to sell and sell and sell. There's a lot of empty promises also. So, I mean, fast forward to today, there are a lot of tools today that can really give homeowners clarity. But back in those days, right, I really feel that if I'm going to be brutally honest, the industry is perpetuated by people lowballing, and I'm ashamed, but that was the truth. And I'm sure many of my peers during that time, right, were all like that.
I think I can link this one to what Yu Ting just now mentioned about some of designers never get back to her. I'm actually a very last minute designer. So a lot of time, for example, when I get your content, all these things, maybe it's underneath my filing. Then after hey, Yu Ting, then I call Yu Ting, hello. So are you available for this weekend or not? Like this coming Saturday or tomorrow? So okay, I'm available. Or then only I start to do a proposal. I mean, honestly, as a homeowner, sometimes you go many fair, right? You don't keep in touch with many designer, or maybe out of the 5, you only go back for like 2 or 3. So I try to save my time. I always do things in very last minute. When I make sure you want to come for this next appointment, then only I start doing the proposal.
Well, this is not a confession. This one is you being efficient.
Efficient, it's not confession.
Confessing that you're efficient.
It's a confession because all the time, homeowner thought we start to plan everything already. But always I will say, yes, I done already. But did I haven't done. Then I always wait for when the time come closer, only start do the proposal and quotation. That's what I'm doing. I won't say it's efficient, it's my last minute habit.
Firstly, it's not easy to do stuff last minute.
Okay.
I think there is a skill to do that, because it means that even at the last minute, you're able to capture whatever the client has said, right, and put forth something. So I think that by itself is not easy. Second thing is, you're right, the business exists in such a sense that homeowner choose us one. Then only when a homeowner chooses us, they are more or less final already, and then you have spend enough time with the homeowner to then decide whether you want this client or not. But most of the time, the initial phase is homeowner choose you one. In a trade fair, for instance, it's 1 is to how many? It's 1 you versus to how many homeowner. You have to be efficient one.
No, I mean, yes, you are saying that we have to be efficient, but yet I need to confess as well, we do things in last minute, but doesn't mean it's efficient. There's a lot of things miss out sometimes. You get what I mean? Not? So what I'm trying to say here is when we go for this exhibition and fair, when we're meeting so many homeowners, we sometimes cannot concentrate as well. So a lot of time, sorry to say, client from those fair and exhibition, our focus are not as good as when we follow up with our referral. Yeah. I mean, to be frank, referral closing rate is always higher than the new homeowner, the newcomer, the new client. So from there, as a designer, especially designer for a certain year in the industry, we are more focused on our referral. We understand that there's somebody that we want to take care. There's some project we want to be concentrate. There's something we want to focus.
I confess that I used to be a yes person, yes man. But of course, along the way, initial journey, you learn from past experiences. So sometimes, we just want to be helpful and help everyone. So like, for example, one instances is like, okay, homeowners would have actually different suppliers coming in to do the house, not just you. They would have gotten their own suppliers to do maybe their doors, their flooring, things like that. I normally would try not to take on such projects if I can, because I know that there can be a lot of hiccup. Because especially those suppliers we don't know. And we don't know their workmanship, we don't know their schedule and everything, the responsive timing, everything is different. You try to be helpful that, okay, I'll help you with that. We will just coordinate everything for you. We don't earn a single cent from that. Okay, it's fine. Perfectly fine. We just want to get everything done properly for you and hand over the house to you nicely and everything. But at times being nice, right, it hurts our pocket. Why? Because, their own suppliers could actually damage something wrong. And measurements could be wrong and things like that have to redo. So who is the one to actually bear the responsibility. If they don't want to bear it, I have to do it because I'm the overall ID. They'll just say, oh, because the ID didn't tell me about this, didn't tell me that. So because there's no working chemistry, it's not that I don't want to be helpful. It's because of past experiences, and it's from there. It's how it shaped me now. And you also be very wary, like, okay, should I really actually do that? Should I really help you? And sometimes it's like, you don't help. They say, hey, why are you like that? Don't help me. The other IDs, they say, all can, all can. It's not about that. It's really, end of the day, is protecting ourselves lah. Sad to say, at times it doesn't pay to be kind. So from a yes person, now I yes at times.
Renovation is an interesting phenomenon in Singapore. I mean, out of the whole Asia, right? Singapore is the only one that kind of pushes or home ownership very early, chance of ownership, starting our own family, and then maybe even for many who after that sell their house, right, make money and then move on to the next house and so on and so forth. And in that sense, right, the relationship to renovation is a tag along one, because home ownership plus renovation then kind of drives the market, drives the economy. But in between all this, right, the interesting thing behind all this is that whether it's finances or whatever, are real people staying in real homes. And then these people in real homes 他会对你死的 if you kind of like don't fulfill the project in time, right? Then they carry their 2个宝宝 they say, 我们的孩子住哪里? That the reality is like that. It can be very personal. So I think that at the end of the day, it's very funny. I feel that to the designer, there's a 神圣的任务啦。我们在新加坡 we all do interior design. It's a responsibility we should not take lightly.
Okay, everybody. Now it's time for 小天使 Stirs.
小恶魔来小恶魔
So this one we will ask each one of them one question.
Yeah,
Who want to answer first?
Who?
Who I
You
want?
arrow lah, you arrow.
The one. Your choice.
I come first. Sir.
Okay. The first question is, would you rather design your own home or let someone else take the lead to avoid clashing with a partner's taste?
Wow, very good question. My wife is designing my house right now.
I know why. A happy wife?
Happy life. Yeah, of course. I mean, to my own house, yes, because my wife is also a designer. I rather let her to take the lead. I just pay the money.
Clever. You will live long. 你会活到老老
And peacefully.
What's one sentence that instantly makes you a bit nervous during a renovation discussion?
My budget burst already. And you worry really, behind still got other things. Can you afford to pay? Yeah, because that's something that we are nervous lah, because that's not what Astley say. You never see newspaper article talking about owners cannot pay.
But you got kena.
Thankfully not yet. And I don't wish to. Touch wood.
But if it happens, then how?
It happens, I think at the end of the day, we have to understand why it burst. Is there anything that we have done wrong differently? Is it because of design constraints, different expectation of what clients want, like certain design? So this is something that we need to actually establish very early in the renovation journey, because if they already set aside this amount budget for the renovation, if they say that, hey, I don't have enough to pay for it, it could also be because the budget actually has increased. The home renovation has actually increased tremendously. Could be variation orders and things like that. So these are something that we need to actually manage the customers' expectation, actually let them know if this is something that is necessary for you. Do you really actually need it?
FYI, there's always a DBS Reno loan. Doing a 广告 for DBS or GXS Flexi loan. Go to our website to see the top banner. Yeah.
Have you ever had to bend the truth to a homeowner to get them off a bad idea?
Yeah. So there was this customer who, for some strange reason, this is in the 90s, really 90s. Wood grain, cherry wood was very popular during that time. I don't know whether you know cherry wood.
I haven't born yet.
It is.
Gen Z.
It's a reddish shade of wood grain. And then for some strange reason, he's got this book, right, that he brought to me and then said, I want this on my ceiling. I want this on my wall. And cherry wood at that time, right, happens to be very popular for office furniture. But for some strange reason, so he wants to bring the office color scheme to his house. I hated it, but then paymaster so I bend my design to suit what he wants. I hated it. I'm still very paiseh about this project. I don't know whether you're watching this, but this client, right, after so many years, after seeing suddenly SIXiDES, right, and then he saw, hey, got our post, right, he actually contacted our CS line and said, hey, I'm your client, last time you did this for me. He still have that house. And he said, hey, I want to make some changes to the house now. Bro, seriously, gotta move on. The color really don't make it.
Okay, so we are nearing the end. The last part will be, do you guys have any advice for homeowners?
Be nice to your IDs lah. Because they are also human beings as well. So we also have emotions. I think we need to communicate everything clearly. Like sometimes I always ask my clients, along the way, anything you want to feedback to me or not, anything you're unhappy about, please let me know first before we hand over. Yeah, because I don't want to, during the final handover, they can tell me, oh, actually, I thought I can accept it. Then now I don't think I can. Yeah. So I always advise my owners to actually be very open with me. Just like we are just friends. Don't just tell me anything that you don't like, anything that we could have improved along the way. Just let me know. Then so that at least you'll be happy with the final handover as well.
At the end of the day, it's a human business. It's a human business. So both need to really communicate clearly and understand. We are dealing some of the household with multiple homeowners as well. There are many opinions pop up during the renovation journey. So there's a lot of communication. Really need to clear all the doubt and have those clear understanding before we go for the execution. Because everybody having different perspective. Everybody is so unique and we are so different. We have our own liking. So we really need to let the other party understand that our feeling, our liking, or if let's say the project itself having so many opinion leader, then need to be really discussed carefully in the family side. As a designer, a lot of time we are not only designing the house, we've been doing marriage counselor. So husband call me, can you convince my wife? Then the wife call me, can you convince my husband or not? Then the son call me, can you convince my parents or not? I was like, wow, I need to do a counseling for everybody. So choose a person that you really trust, then let him perform his best for you. Yeah.
So I bring back to the 90s. No handphone, no WhatsApp, even email also don't have. A lot of faith needs to
Lucky you.
Yes, to a certain extent. But we got pager. Who call pager? But anyway, the reality is communication is a very big thing now. But in the past, communication is not. And there's a lot of faith going on. And faith to a point where even homeowners are very fearful of saying the truth to the ID. Because they say, 我不喜欢这个不好they also don't dare to say because they are afraid that suddenly the ID or the contractor got angry, right? Don't want to do the job. And last time it's like that, they will really like pack up and show 发脾气 one. And when 发脾气, then somehow the job is jeopardized already. I still see that every now and then in our SIXiDES business, right? There are still homeowners who come to us and say that, I don't know whether I want to abandon this project or not. Because if I say this to the ID, right, then things may not move or move the way that I want. So they are very stressed about it. So they came to SIXiDES, right, asking us for our opinion. But it's very far and few now. But in my days, right, 真的是这样的嘞.
Actually, today's it still happen in this way, but then it's it's a bit different. It's a designer afraid the craftman run away. Sometimes the owner requirement is too
Extreme.
Yeah, or there's a lot of work need to execute. Then when we go and tell the carpenter, we need to crack our head. Hey, actually, how to tell the carpenter? Should I buy the fruit, go to carpenter first, and only tell you this one? Yeah.
买鲜花.
How to tell my dollar?
Boy.
Yeah, I think with the AI attack nowadays, the craftsman become more and more important for in our sector.
Your blue collar becomes like 至高无上.
Yeah, so it become our as designer we need to know how to communicate with the craftsman to let them have the happy mind to perform the job, to deliver a good craftsmanship to the homeowner.
Yeah, and I think with that, right, we come to the end of this very interesting episode. First time that we actually brought a homeowner into the picture, and then she's kind of like using her perspective and getting us involved in the conversation. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
So if you like what you're seeing, right, remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, send this to your father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, whatever, to see if they're going through renovation. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.